next presenter, Mieko Ozeki. Again? All right. Fostering connection and inspiration among women in business in Vermont.
If I fall asleep, I apologize. I've been up all day doing connecting, so I'm happy to be here. So I'm going to get started, okay? So hello, everyone. My name is Mieko Ozeki, and I am one of the co-founders and chief connectors of Vermont Womenpreneurs, a supportive community of women-owned businesses that aspire towards collaboration over competition in the Green Mountain State. And tonight I want to talk about building authentic, sincere connection in the sense of basically making sure that folks have the opportunity to interact with one another in a way that they feel that they're not being depleted. But before I talk about how the Vermont Womenpreneurs came about, I like to talk about, well, how the we comes from me. I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm also a solopreneur, an advocate, and a fifth-generation Chinese-Japanese American standing out in a white space. And so those things have informed me being present. And as Serena Williams says, you gotta evolve in your roles. So in 2017, I left a toxic work environment and had lucked into a retreat at Knoll Farm called the Better Selves Fellowship. And at the time, after leaving, I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with myself? And I sat in front of my computer, and amongst all these other people who are seeking respite, I was going, what am I good at? What is my pathway? What am I gonna do next? And so words came up. I love to convene, connect, collaborate, as well as celebrate. I took those words, I had no idea what was gonna happen, but then I took this solopreneur workshop with Lisa Wood at Center for Women in Enterprise, and she said something like, you know, the thing about being a solopreneur is you're trapped in your head. You're the only one accountable to yourself. What if you all met together, kept each other accountable? Convene, why not? So in 2018, I organized our first Womenpreneurs meetup. Didn't really quite have a name, but we just met up at Fletcher Free Library and just started sharing what small business owners were doing. And it was small coffees. And this is where Kismet, where I met my co-founder and also PechaKucha alum, Bethany Andrews-Nichols, who basically said, you know, I wish there was a place where I could just it's like a science fair. Like I want to demonstrate what my business is like without anyone interrupting. And I was like, cool. I happen to have a co-working space that was like, we're looking for an event. Why don't we do it? And so we hosted our first showcase event in June 2018. 20 women showed up and shared their stories. We crowded the space. And women were sharing how their journeys of becoming entrepreneurs came about. And everything from, it wasn't a pitch, it was all about, why did I come here? Why did I become passionate about my business? And the thing is, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Well, it did, because all of a sudden our coffees went from a few people to a lot of people coming because they had word of mouth. In social media, people were pull quoting and talking about what they heard about other businesses. They wanted to be able to share an experience of working with one another. And this was just the start. We have hosted more showcases and we filled the space with more stories, everything from women who already been in business for several years and the kind of like, yeah, you saw this facade, I'm really great, but really this is really what happened, to also the ebbs and flows, as well as people who are just starting out and talking about their business. Our coffees got bigger. And in our circle, one of the things, the cadence that we do, is I always say, there are 3 things you need to bring. Your name, what your business is, hopefully you don't forget those 2. And the third one is share one of 3 things. Share an update, an aspiration, or an ask. And by doing that, women got to share in an audience without kind of full, and a sort of accountability as a community holding that. They get to share what their needs are, And what's interesting is finding that the people who are creating connection that way by saying, oh, maybe I can't offer that service, but maybe I can tell somebody to come and connect with this person. And it feels real, not like, if most people know, networking sort of feels icky, feels transactional, sweaty palms, all that stuff, and people waiting for you to tell their story. But what's nice is that when people exchange like this and share those aspirations, people hold that and they're able to create relationship immediately. And as you can see, there's a lot of smiles, there's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of joy. It doesn't feel like your typical business network. Now, I'm not to say that I love business networks, but I also know that this is really important to be able to come out into your community and share who you are and who you presently are. So this is before the pandemic. 2 days before, we were like, oh, we heard about this thing called COVID. We don't know what's going on. How is that going to affect our business? And then we went to Zoom land. And Zoom land for 2 years. But that was a kind of a space where we got to hear where women were at. We were rooting for people to thrive instead of surviving. Finally, we got to a point where we were able to do in person our last summit, and we had 230 women show up for 12 storytellers to be able to share their stories about how they some of them starting their own businesses, some of them been in business for a while. And also, I just want to note that whenever we throw an event, I make sure that 90% of the event, at least, or 100% of the event, you will see a women-owned business is reflected in it, whether through photography, whether through our flowers, whether through signs. One of the things I thought was a really interesting story is watching women who basically never met each other, but realize they're in the same community and start working together. So I'm going to share what the last part I asked of everyone. What is an aspiration I have? Well, I know that I have to get out of Chittenden County, and I need to be able to work with a lot of womenpreneurs across the state. So my goal is hopefully I join the 251 Club and meet all of the womenpreneurs out there. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it.